all you hardcores, you know who it is. It's Big P here. We're joined by Kent from Ireland. How are you doing, Kent?
How's it going, Russell? How you doing? All right.
I'm all right, mate. What's been happening, Kent, in the world of boxing? Enlighten me.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. What's happening with this Conor Benn situation? We haven't had your take on it yet, Kent. What's the story?
It's just, where is the accountability? Who has the accountability here? As an athlete, you sign up to these bodies that help regulate the sport for drugs. So therefore, you've all these people. You're employing strength and conditioning coaches, dietitianists, managers, promoters, trainers. You're hiring all these people, and things like this happen. It just happened. Oh yeah, it just happened. There was the egg excuse, and now there is the excuse of contamination. I don't think I've ever heard of contamination in a laboratory ever. I think there was one case of Jeff McCrish back in the 90s. He failed an androlone test in a European title fight. I think that was rescinded. But you look at every other test from that, the testing is more stringent than it was then. The protocols would be far better. Why did they not just get the B sample tested right away whenever that happened? When there was that whole thing about, he made a statement this week about it was test. I don't want to say anything in case I'm wrong and I get sued, but if it was contamination, why did they not just get the B sample and get the B sample tested by an independent body, a different body?
On the some on internet the other day saying that he'd had his B sample on one of these, or he tested this, or was that just fake news or something? I saw. So there's been a lot of fake stuff going about, hasn't there?
It's been going on so long. I think the whole thing about suing the board is that a scare tactic to get a license again. After all, he did rescind, he did revoke his, he did cancel his membership or his license, or he withdrawn his license from the board, so he's not a license holder now. There was that whole crap about his dad, when his dad won the WBO title against Doug DeWitt in America. At that time, the WBO wasn't recognized by, I think, most commissions and bodies around the world, and he used that. But did his dad not have a license after that? He fought on in Britain after that with a board license. So I don't know what excuse that was. He said something about, yeah, the board had it in for me because of my dad. Well, the board let him miss a test against Jared McLennan, so it doesn't seem exactly as if they have it in for him, but there's been so much going on. But I think it stems back to what I said at the start there. There needs to be accountability. The athlete has to be accountable for what is going into their body. My understanding on it was that eggs with clomiphene were only from American produce. So where was he getting his eggs from? Why would you be getting eggs flowing halfway around the world for? When you can get locally farmed eggs anywhere in the UK's on the mainland. I'm sure there's local dairy farms all over the place. So that doesn't make sense in itself. If that was the case, can he actually prove? Is there bank records or a bank statement that goes back 4, 5, 6 months ago with a record of him buying eggs, a previous record from him buying eggs from America? Why did he not want to do a hair follicle test that Colano did? He actually produced statements from his bank, backdated, that where he was buying the meat from, so they could trace back where the contaminated Mexican meat was at the time, and he signed up to random testing. Why did Conor Benn not sign up for random testing last summer? Why is nobody asking? Why is he not coming out and giving an account of that? Why is he not saying that? So now it's, yes, there was possibility of contamination, so it's not his fault, and the eggs wasn't his fault. Well, whatever you're putting into your body, surely you should know, especially when you're employing all these people, as I say, nutritionists, dietitians, strength and conditioning coaches. You've got your coaches, you've got your management. Does none of these people know these things?
Yeah. Do you think Conor Benn's heading for Skid Row?
I don't think he is. You know, I think he's going to play. It all depends. It all depends what happens with the states and the sanctioning bodies.
Like victim now and show a nice,
Yes, he is.
a
He
nice
is.
side to him and all that, and then they can market him and they might take a backdated ban and all this nonsense to fight in UK. So he might have a couple of fights in Saudi over a year, and then come back to UK because it'll be 2 years since he fought here, then, won't it? That's the word round the campfire. Do you know what I mean?
Well, if he does that, well, what about all that? What about that report that was meant to have gone in that no one's seen? You know, what about all that nonsense from the WBC? What about all the excuses from contamination? So does he go back and turn around and say, "Nah, that was all wrong. I did take his stuff, and I've held my hands up." It's too late for that now.
Well, what it is, I've got a bit of an exclusive on that report. It's not just any old ordinary report. It's that exclusive. Nobody's seen it. It's known as a super report.
Well, is it? I suppose it's like. I suppose is it a report like a certain person's bare knuckle fights on tape?
Yeah, 100 on the hard road, 100 way off. I forgot all the names.
It it's going to be interesting to see. He's got governing bodies involved. Where why is the WBC involved? WBC is a sanctioning body. They're not a commission, so that's bizarre in itself. It doesn't that doesn't make sense. What does the does that mean he's going to have to get one from the WBA, the IBF, the WBO? At the end of the day, if he's in that top 15 ranking, WBC has been paying a sanction fee, so he's already paying them anyway, so it's kind of not independent. It's not impartial. It's going to be straight. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what the board's relationships with other commissions are, like Nevada State, like New York. All those states are very strict, especially, you look at Dr. Margaret Goodman from Nevada. She basically is one of the main people behind setting up, VADA in America and random testing. She's very stringent and very passionate about drug testing and boxing. So it's going to be interesting to see what the relationship between the British Boxing Board of Control is and all the other commissions. They all kind of need, each other, I suppose. But I can't see him coming back now and saying, "Yeah, I put my hands up and made a mistake," after everything that's been said. It's just way too late for that now.
Yeah. Do you feel that they're trying to drown everybody out now? Because I was having a little look this morning and I've noted there's about 8 or 9 channels have all changed the mind of it, and they're all got. And plus, you throw in your Dave Caldwell's and that. Well, now we've heard all this. There's a lot of people have got it wrong, and blah blah blah. Do you think people have had their heads turned?
I think it's like anything. I think at times it's fashionable to kind of criticize and jump on the bandwagon and just follow everybody else because everybody else is doing it. If you've actually got the balls to have an opinion on something, you come out and you say it and you stick to it. Where now it seems to be, yeah, they're just going with the propaganda they're hearing. They're not actually going with their own gut feeling and their own opinions. It's like they're just chasing after propaganda for clickbait and for airtime. Just have an opinion on it. Just have an opinion. And I suppose a lot of these people need access, and they train certain fighters that are linked to certain promotional bodies. So how can them people ever really have an independent view on it? To be honest, they're not impartial.
No, they're not. And it's been a bit of a PR disaster, hasn't it, for Crusher Benn, do you think?
I think it has. I think any athlete, regardless if they've bought something over the counter, they still failed the test. He failed 2 tests, separate tests. There was no B sample. The thing that really got me about it was that he played the mental health card. He used that. And this is a guy that went to a private school, brought up with a lot of wealth in his family, never had to work a day in his life. And there's people out there really, really struggling to look after their children and feed their children and put the heating on, never mind crying about a drug test and everyone's picking on me and everyone's this and that. He failed the drugs test. He failed 2 tests. Many drug tests as Jermell Miller fail. So that was the thing that really annoyed me the most. He didn't have he wasn't strong enough to come out and say, right, I failed these 2 tests. We're going to investigate it. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and say nothing until then. But all the cryptic tweets, he just sounded like a spoiled brat, to be honest with you. A real spoiled, arrogant brat. That's the thing that annoyed me the most. And then whenever Eubank Jr. get knocked out, he's on trolling him on Twitter. So, 1 minute you have a mental health problem, everybody's bullying you, then you're trolling somebody else for getting knocked out. It doesn't really. It seems hypocritical. It seems the actions of somebody that's just a spoiled brat.
Yeah, and what about Eddie and Caller's role in all this? I mean, Caller's coming out defending himself on all platforms, isn't he? And saying he's sick of having to come out and say they were waiting on board and all this. Everybody's passing book, aren't they?
Everybody's passing a buck. Everyone's got their own agenda. Everyone's got their own propaganda. Everyone's got their own spiel. I remember Joe G was saying that weekend that the thing that people weren't actually picking up on was people had to book time off work. They had to spend money on flights. They had to spend money on hotels, travel arrangements.
Yeah.
All that there. They were the people that really, really, really lost out. All the stuff that was put on with Addy. The promotional vignettes were put on, the press conference, the promos, everything that was put on, even the hiring of the arena, everything, that's all tax deductible. That all can be claimed back. The working person can't claim that loss back, where Eddie can. So that was the thing that really annoyed me. And the board let this happen. The board got a failed test, and they got another failed test from a guy that didn't sign up to VADA testing that summer. That's alarm bells. Why not just cancel the fight right away when that happened and investigate it? And maybe 2 months down the line, they could have got to the bottom of it. They could have sorted it out, and they could have put the fight on, and people could have maybe cancelled hotels, flights, travel arrangements, work time off, all that there, where they didn't. The fans didn't get. What I'm trying to say is the fans were at loss, where the promoters weren't. They'll claim all that back, and I think a big responsibility is down to the board. The board. The board just seemed toothless at the minute, especially with with the big promoters. They need them and they need them, and so it's kind of like a catch-22.
Yeah.
But it's just really, really disappointing, and it's been done too long. It's just exhausting. We should be talking about good domestic fights. Should be talking about good things in boxing, but there just seems to be so much happening outside of the ring. We're talking more about that than the action inside the ring. It's really, really negative. It just, you're actually thinking it's becoming like a circus, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's I mean, this Jake Paul thing, Tommy Fury, this bet thing is just a sideline storyline thing. It's not. They're all acting parts out. Do you know what I mean? That's what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on. It's been took to a level of cringe that's never been seen in boxing. We only see this in wrestling, don't we? Really?
Yeah, but wrestlers are better actors than professional boxers. They're trained, in acting. They're trained in cutting promos, but it's just obvious now. It's not even really worth talking about because we know it's all, that side bet thing. That's just an excuse for a rematch, really, isn't it? That's just an excuse for a rematch.
They'll build it round the bet and all that, and they'll say contracts are signed. There's all this at stake, and it's
You didn't pay up, and
it's all or nothing. And Jake's got to come out swinging, and they'll try and get all these teeny boppers on hook, and they'll write storylines, and it's just up their street, isn't it? Big John, because they tell whoppers daily, so it's just that he's just being himself, and that's why they're pulling it off. He's found a niche.
it's like really, where is Tommy going to go after this? Is he going to go back and fight a eliminator for an English title or a British title or fight for an area title? Personally,
He's caught between two weights as well, to be fair to him. I mean, he's not a light heavy. He's
no,
probably not.
no.
He probably walks around at cruiserweight, doesn't
Yeah, and I think there's Bridgerweight there as well. I think if they're going to
he?
go
But
down
that's
that
even
route,
higher than cruiser, though, isn't it, Bridger? Isn't it?
yeah, yeah, and I don't think his frame will let him go up the Bridgerweight because I think he struggles with his endurance and his aerobic endurance as it is at cruiser. Never mind going up the Bridgerweight for a title, but yeah, he's it's in catch-22. Whatever much money he got for that fight. What were they talking? What was it?
Got $5 million, I've been told, Tommy.
$5 million. Well, I estimated about £3 million. So you go from £3 million to fighting for 10 grand, 15 grand. It doesn't really make sense. So it doesn't. So you kind of can't blame him for not going down that route and just taking $3 to $5 million. It's good money if you can get it, but what disappoints me and all about it is you look at Terence Crawford, like Terence Crawford, his fight against Sean Porter didn't sell. I don't even think it done 200,000 pay-per-view buys. Where you look at Jake Paul and you look at his first fight with Tyron Woodley, done near over a million pay-per-view buys. It's crazy. And you even look at Bud. You even look at his last fight, Bud's last fight against David Evanesian on that BLK show. He got $10 million, and they don't even think that it estimated 40,000 pay-per-view buys.
Do you know what's in my head in Ken, right? You got people like Bricktop, Eddie Hill, Del Boy Chisora, David A, Tyson Fury, John Fury. You've got people like this, Sam Jones and all that, sucking up to these goonies, and that's what they are, mate. Little gimps and goonies, these KSIs and these Jake Pauls, the goonies for boxing, mate. They're sticking a knife straight in the heart of boxing and they can't see it, Ken.
This all started way back. I remember Carl had just
Spencer
turned.
Oliver. Spencer Oliver, do you remember? He was the one who put on money.
it goes back even further than that. I remember Carr turned pro and he just left Jerry, and they had Freddie Flintoff in the gym at the time training with them.
Oh,
And
yeah, Barry
the,
McGuigan trained him, didn't he? And Shay.
yeah, Barry and Shane, I got one of the first people Shane actually trained when they had that gym.
Break top,
They
but
had,
go on, didn't he?
yes, but there was another show as well. I remember there was another show. It was actually on TV. It was Ricky Gervais. Remember Ricky Gervais and Sid Owen from EastEnders? That was actually in New York. I think that was on New York Hall. I think that was shown on a. I think a British promoter showed that, but the board gave Freddie Flintoff a license, and he had that one fight. He actually got dropped in it. It was an absolute robbery. I didn't actually think he won it, and then he retired after that. But that was kind of creeping in then, so it was, and I don't see how a promoter who has a license, a board license, but is allowed to promote that type of show as well. It just goes against everything about boxing. It just seems a conflict of interest, really, doesn't it?
Well, how Caleb Fowler's got around is what he does is Nissy's got the board license for professional boxing, and Caleb ain't got a license, so he just does the misfits, doesn't he?
Right. Well, they're not doing anything wrong. It's they've got it sussed out. But the zone, I think the zone are only sustainable through misfit boxing. Like that's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Like even talking yesterday, like tag team boxing, how is that safe? I think it just makes you look at fighters years gone by who have had accidents in the ring, had life changing injuries through boxing, who are professional athletes, world class, skilled professional athletes, and they're still at a high risk of brain damage or CTE, long term CTE. And then you've got this nonsense where they're doing tag team box. They're talking about now tag team boxing. I think it's just an absolute slap in the face, the professional boxing.
Slap in the face.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
it's like Liverpool have just given Man United a slap in face. What a time to be alive. So
Russell, you said you wouldn't speak about this before we went on.
Ken, I forgot that you're Man United and Rico, go. Rico's Man United as well. Sorry about that, Kent. I just can't wait till we've done our videos today. I'll send these to Cameron, get him to stick intros and whatnot in, endings, sponsors and that. And I'm just going to hunt down Roy Keane's YouTube video with Gary Neville.
I'm just saying nothing. I'm just having a tumbleweed moment here, Russell. I'm just gonna let you
Sorry,
enjoy the
mate.
moment.
Well, do you know why I've done that, mate? Because when your lot were on top, every time it went 1-1 or you were 2-1 down, they're playing Fergie time, mate. And it were going on for years and years and years, and I just had enough of it, mate. So to see your lot not on top of your game, although you just won League Cup, to see you not on top of the game, mate, it's fantastic. It's like Eddie Hearn falling down some stairs. You'd be like, go on, baby.
To be honest with you,
I don't
I'm
like Man
just
United, Ken. End of.
I don't like Liverpool either, and that's just being honest.
It's just how it is, isn't it? It's
It's
rivalries,
just
isn't it?
it's
It's
just
the
how
biggest
it is. It's
rivalry in
it's
football, in world football, mate. It's the biggest game of the season. And we've just done you 7-0, and I'm still getting wasted. And I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy, Ken. And I don't give a shit about Man U fans. And you know what I've been doing earlier? Watching that United stand and just laughing, sat here buzzing. Seeing that little gimp, that Mark Goldridge, little goonie. I've been laughing at him because he was nearly crying, man, when the seventh went in. Oh, I had to turn on to his channel. I had match on here, and then him whining. Oh, what a time to be alive.
savage. Listen, the season isn't over with. I think United's
My face was
title.
melting. I didn't put my face on screen. You go on, Kent. What?
I think United's hopes of winning the Premier League are well and truly done now. I think it's just down to now
It is.
Arsenal.
It's
Arsenal.
if they can stay in top four now, mate. We'll take third now. We just Klopp's had to tweak it a bit, hasn't he? And we're back where we belong.
There was talk. Like I always thought that the standard Liverpool were at for the last 4 or 5 years with the team that they've had. They're 4 years older now. They've an older side. But saying that,
Freshen it up,
Manchester,
hasn't
yeah, you look at, Liverpool could be bottom of the league and United could be 10 points clear to top, and Liverpool will still up their game. It's vice versa. As you say, it's the biggest rivalry in football. I'm not going to turn around and say Man City United is, because nobody actually goes to watch Man City. But I think as far as, Liverpool and Man United, the history's there. The history is there through, Liverpool winning
Yeah.
the European Cup back in the day and Man United dominating the 90s. So, of course, there's that rivalry there. It's never going to change. Never.
I think we've been in 10 jug years finals, haven't we, mate? It's like, it's note to us now, is it? Champions League. It's note. Bread and butter now, isn't it? Bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bread and butter. Right then, Ken. Moving on then from Crusher Ben. Billy Joe Sausages, or is it Saunders? Is he going to come back? And if he does, can he be a force? Or was he ever a force?
Well, what weight's he going to come back at?
Well, I don't know, but he looks as big as a snowman on some of them photos online. So I don't know what's going on there. But I'd like to see him come back as a super welter, fight at a weight that he should be fighting at. And let's see his array of skills, because I always feel that we haven't seen best of him. Do you?
No. I remember seeing him in Belfast. I remember seeing him and Frankie Gavin turned pro when they turned pro, Andy Gale on the same show. And, it looked like, yeah, he's won a world title. He's won 2 world titles at 2 different weights.
Yeah.
But he did have a lot of. You look at the fights he had. He had the Lemieux win, which was probably the best win of his career. Not as a named opponent, but the best performance of his career. It's most definitely the best performance of Billy Joe's career. I think that was peak Billy Joe Saunders. I think the time after that they were meant to get the Triple G fight that kept going on and on and on. They didn't get that there. So that would have been around that same time where you had Billy Joe at his peak. The Andy Lee win was a massive win for him. I actually didn't fancy him to win that fight at that time because Andy Lee was just knocking
that's
everybody.
Andy Lee. I forgot to mention that over there. Andy Lee, David Lemieux, Roger, and Eubank are his top 4 wins, aren't they?
But he won everything domestically. Like, he won British, Commonwealth, European with Jimmy Tibbs and Mark Tibbs. They fought everyone there at domestic level, and at a time where you just jump straight into a world title and get it. He beat Gary O'Sullivan, John Ryder, Matthew Hall, Nick Blackwell, Bradley Price. Bradley Price maybe at the end of his career, but that was for a Commonwealth title. But he done everything the right way, and beat obviously Andy Lee for the world title. That was just after. I think, am I right? 2 fights later, he goes on and wins. Sorry, two. Let me see. Before that, yeah, it was the Eubank fight. Before that, that was a massive fight. It was a split decision, but it was a massive fight. At that time, you could say that Billy Joe Saunders and Eubank kept Box Nation going. Building up to that fight and their fight showing on Box Nation. But you look after that, it's hard to say, what's the best win, what's the best performance wise. I thought David Lemieux performance was his best,
Yeah.
but after that, you look at that Sefe fight, Charles Adamu, Martin Murray.
Akavov
It's
beat him, didn't he, in Scotland?
what's that?
Akavov beat Billy, I felt, in Scotland, did you? He got beat, didn't he? But they gave him decision, didn't they? First time
Yeah,
that
that
Vincent Dick
that
corner.
was that was his comeback fight. So it was. That was the first. Was that not the first fight that Ben Davison was in his corner that
Yeah,
time?
Ben Davison and Danny Vaughan Dick corner, I think.
Yeah, and Ben took all the credit for it. Made it all about himself. But after that, he went back to Flex for the Willie Monroe fight, Willie Monroe Jr. Then after that was David Lemieux. And then went from David Lemieux to Charles Adamu and Sefe, and Martin Murray when, there was those big fights at middleweight with the likes of Triple G. But I suppose, you look at when he left Frank Warren, Frank Warren got him British, Commonwealth, European, and got him 2 world titles. Then when he went to Eddie, what did he actually get from Eddie? What apart from the Colano fight, what did he get from leaving Frank Warren, from winning a world title, and at Stevenage to Colano? He didn't really get a big fight after that, did he?
No, I didn't. I just feel like it's a wasted career. I always dig him out, like, because I just don't like wasted talent. It sort of annoys me. It's a pet hate of mine. I just feel like I look at Billy Joe Saunders. Yeah, he can say, well, he's won everything and he's a millionaire, but I always felt that there's more to come. He reminds me of somebody that's just going through motions and practicing his art. When he's been in ring.
I think it goes down to being that good. He had that much ability and he was that good. He could box it with kind of whatever gear he wanted. And that's all down to being a really precocious talent, a real top class talent. You can go through the gears when you're that talented. You can kind of get your way through rounds. You kind of don't have to fight at that faster pace. That's just how talented he was. I thought I thought the level he boxed. I thought the closest fight he had up until that was the split decision against Eubank. Eubank didn't have the experience at the time. He started really slow, and Eubank just, kind of fought his way into the fight where Billy Joe just kind of controlled him, kind of contained him, and it got to a split decision where if he kind of fought, I think Billy Joe had another gear in that fight, and I think it was always hard for a coach or a trainer to get that gear out of him because he was so good. But I always thought Frank Warren really handled him well. We got him British, Commonwealth, European, and 2 world titles. I thought Frank Warren done a great job with him, and I think when he went to Eddie, I think he was promised the world and didn't really get it. He had that fight. It was in the Staples Center. He had that fight in Las Vegas. Was that on a YouTuber show? It was. It actually was. I think he was on the undercard of that fight. Logan Paul. It was. He was on the undercard of a Logan Paul fight, and that was his first fight with Eddie, and that was a really, really close fight. He knocked the guy out in the 11th round, but it was a close fight up until that. It was actually a good fight, but at that time, there was so many other big fights out there. As I say, the Triple G fight, and then he went from that. It was 2019, and it wasn't until 21 he got that Colano fight, and where was that? It was that stadium fight anyway. But yeah, it's frustrating, and I think he would be honest with you. Don't think he looks after himself great in between camps. I think as you get older, it's harder to do that. It's harder to come back each time. And, when you're a fighter that relies so much on your reflexes and your instincts, it does age the fighter's game. Like, so it does age the fighter more.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. If this cuts out in a minute, it means it's end of part 1 and then you have to go on to part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, boxing's an hard game in it at the moment, isn't it, Ken? For a lot of people, isn't it?
It is, and likes of all this YouTube stuff just makes it even harder. If you're a British champion, you're a Commonwealth champion, European champion, you're a young prospect. I think it's going to be really hard this next 18 months. I think this type of casuals. We all talk about casuals in boxing, but casuals in boxing, pay for pay-per-views, watch certain shows, maybe don't go to shows, but they're part of the broadcasting figures. So there's this type of thing coming in that's taking it away. That's taking them away from boxing. And as well as, seems to be more so now, not about your pedigree or about what competitions you've done as an amateur. It's all down to now, social media following. I think that's a massive, massive part of fighters coming through. And I think it's going to be even harder now.
Yeah. Do you want to go on to part 2, Ken?
Yep.
All right, mate. Go on to part 2. Porky's Corner is proud to be sponsored by Spartan Site Solutions. They are specialists in civil engineering and demolition contracts for the construction industry. Interested parties should visit their website or contact Porky's Corner for a referral at porkycorner@mail.com.